Bears Nation podcast. It is not Tuesday. It is Thursday. So this is a modified version of Bears Nation podcast, Tuesday Night Therapy on a Thursday, plus a little bit of a Bears Patriots preview. Our audio from our most recent episode
Bears
was
Cowboys. We beat the Patriots.
Yeah, sorry. I'm all over the place. I was changing the title. Bears Cowboys. I'm sorry. I'm so hung up on the game, Collyn. How can you not be hung up on that game? I'm elated after what occurred. And it's going to be interesting. This is a therapy session, but there's not a lot of bad to talk about. It's all good stuff, you know?
It is all good stuff. Mostly good stuff.
And hey, that's what you do in therapy. You talk about the good and the bad and everything in between. And today we're going to talk about a lot of good, and hopefully the good carries into this game. Again, Bears Cowboys on Sunday, a big one, a chance to get back to 500. And who would have thunk? You look at the NFC, and specifically the NFC North, right? The Packers are struggling. They're 3-4, and they have a test this week in Buffalo. They're probably going to drop to 3-5. I don't know who Minnesota is playing this week, but I do know that the rest of the NFC, there's about 6 teams who are at 3-4 right now. And the Rams are currently slotted at the 7th seed in the NFC playoff standings at 3-3. So all I'm pitching here to you, Kellyn, is a Bears win on Sunday. And if the cards fall, your way with the other games, could be the 7th seed in the NFC, especially because
we're in the hunt, baby.
We're in the hunt. The graphic has arrived already. I saw it on Twitter. I've never been more excited. But again, myself, Kellyn Lapko, alongside Kellyn Garanstein here with you guys for about the next hour. We're talking everything Bears. Kellyn, I know you were watching on Monday night. I know we talked about it immediately after the game. I know we're a couple days removed now, but you're still riding the high of that victory.
Yeah, man. It's good stuff, man. It's fun to watch, and I don't understand the quickness to give up on Justin Fields from the rest of the NFL as far as like fan bases go. And I think a lot of it is just trolling and just Twitter people being Twitter people. But like, damn, like he had his best game as far as like all things considered. Monday night, rainy game. He had been coming off a week where he struggled. The team was struggling, playing against the greatest coach of all time in the NFL, you know what I mean? And a guy who historically has killed, a guy of Justin Fields experience-wise, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And he went out there and I got, Luke Getsy, Matt Eberflus, give them a lot of credit. They put together a really good game plan, and they changed their entire philosophy and said, this isn't working. We need to do more around Justin. Let's do more to keep him safe, to protect him, to make him feel more comfortable. And that's what happens when you do that. You get a win. And now, like, might not happen like that every week. Might not look that pretty every week. But it was pretty good.
It was pretty damn good. And again, we're hoping this momentum carries over to the game against the Cowboys. This is a big one. You're going on the road to Dallas. But the thing I kind of mentioned in our preview episode for this game that, the audio went awry. Again, I'll mention that we recorded it with Jake, and my connection was terrible. But something I mentioned was, I think one of the bigger aspects of the game against the Patriots was a belief game, where now this is the standard, right? And you've sort of set a reference point now that you can always go back to when you face, difficult opponents in difficult places, like you do having to go to Dallas and go to Jerry's World, a hard place to play against a really good defense. And, they're a 5-2 team. They've got a little bit of momentum as well now that Dak is back. And you can now go in there and say, hey, we're coming off a win on the road against Bill Belichick in Foxborough on Monday Night Football, going to Dallas and beating that team, which I think is honestly not as good of a football team as a whole complete football team than the New England Patriots, is easy for it. It's not easy, but it's doable. It's achievable. And there's this belief factor now. And it's not just this week, but it's weeks going forward. It's years going forward for the Matt Eberflus era. You can always go back and say, hey, remember when we did this, right? This is the standard. Going on the road and beating Bill Belichick at his place, that's the standard against a relatively good football team. And I think they've sort of instilled belief in the guys now. And as it pertains to this week, like, it's a lot of momentum they have going for them right now. It's a lot of momentum. Yeah. You saw the momentum carry over from the 49ers game into the Texans game week 2, and the Bears, barely, squeaked that one out. But we saw them put up worse performances against, equally as bad teams, the Commanders being one of them. So I think, to me, Kellyn, that's a belief game. Do you agree?
Yeah, man. They, especially obviously for Justin Fields, but for the rest of the guys to kind of rally around and have a system that they believe in. They see Eberflus's coaching style, his X's and O's knowledge. They see it in fruition. It doesn't just become a belief in one guy or each other. it becomes a belief in the entire, not program, the entire organization of the Chicago Bears, from Ryan Poles on down to Matt Eberflus to the offensive side of the ball to everything that's being taught. I'm sure it is. And I hope they keep it up because, like we said, I mean, they're not going to win every game this season from now on. I mean, I would love them to. Like, God bless. I mean, Kevin's probably going to pick them every week anyway, so maybe they will. But you know what I mean?
No,
They,
no, no,
you might, man. You might.
no. Why do you
Kevin,
think that?
Kevin, because you're Kevin. That's why.
What's my picking record this year, Kellyn? It's 5 and
I
2.
don't know, but how many have you picked the Bears to lose yet?
I have picked the Bears to lose twice, Kellyn. I have the best record among the three of us. I'm five
Have
and
you
two.
really?
Jake's 4 and 4, or Jake's 4 and 3, and you're 3 and 4. You got to pick it up, Kellyn.
You picked who'd you pick them to lose to?
I picked us to lose to the Packers, and I picked us to lose to the Vikings, and I was right on both of those games. I
Okay.
picked us to beat the Giants, which I don't blame myself for. I picked us to beat the Commanders, and I picked
Hmm.
us to beat the Patriots, and I was right. And I guess we'll review it later in this episode. I may or may not pick them to beat the not the Patriots,
The
the Cowboys.
Cowboys.
We'll see. We'll see.
Anyways, yes, it does become a belief factor, and I'm sure that everyone will in that building will really look back to this Patriots when it's a turning point.
There you go. Point made. What's up, Ron Winarski? What's up, Jake Capone down in the chat? Also, I am Skox here as usual. Our fellas, our usual folks here. We appreciate you guys tuning in every single week, joining us here for a little bit of Thursday night Bears therapy. If you guys have any questions or comments, we're gonna address all of them here. That's our goal here. But again, not a lot of disappointment to talk about here. A lot of good things to talk about. We're gonna go down a list of good Bears things. Now, let's talk about the one Bears thing that I guess you can't argue is good. Now, I think it's good, but for the guys inside that locker room and for people who really like the name Robert Quinn, it's not good for you
Hmm.
because he was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for a 4th-round pick. Now, Kellyn, I did not expect it to happen at the time that it happened. You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
thought Robert Quinn was going to get traded in the offseason. I thought that was the most logical point to do it. You were able to sell high on Robert Quinn at that moment, coming off the franchise record in sacks, doing the things that he did, ranked as pretty much a top 10 edge rusher at that point, which he,
Right.
deservedly so. At the time, when you break the franchise record in sacks for a franchise as historic as the Chicago Bears, you should be rated as a top 10 edge rusher in the game. I
Right.
thought they would sell him in the offseason for maybe a third or a second. You know what I mean? He's still 32, for a team that is, like the Bills, right? That are close, and they ended up signing Von Miller. But, a situation like that. And now he goes 7 games through the season, collects 1 sack, and I thought, man, his value could never be lower. And I can't believe that there would be a team out there that would give you higher than maybe a 5th-round pick. And here are the
Hmm.
Philadelphia Eagles, which are the most logical destination. You're a 6-0 team. You're looking for a little bit of a boost at edge. You're willing to overpay when you're in a situation to sell out for the Super Bowl. And the fact that they also have, I think they have 2 first-round picks this year
Yeah.
somehow, some way still. So it's not a big deal for them. But were you surprised by the trade of Robert Quinn? And what's your overall reaction to it? Because I don't think we talked about it with you.
The timing, like you said, caught me off guard. Like I didn't. I guess I expected them to try to ship him, but I didn't think they'd find a partner that would give them what the
Right.
Eagles gave them. You know what I mean? I'm sure Ryan Poles tried to find a dance partner in the offseason and tried to sell high, and like he just didn't see anything that he liked and just kept him on the roster. And now it is what it is, right? I mean, we got a fourth for him. I don't really know, even in the offseason, I mean, he's what, 32, 33.
He's
You're
32 right
just
now. Yes.
32. You're just not, even after a record-breaking season. I mean, everyone knew he had kind of peaked. It's not like the league was like, "Oh, he's got 18 sacks. He can get 18 sacks for us." Like everyone knew that that was kind of going to be the high point of the end of the downslope of his career. Because
Correct.
now that's just what
Correct.
happened. So, um, good trade, I think, for both sides. Um, I'm not going to say if the Bears don't win the Super Bowl, I'm rooting for the Eagles, but I think the Eagles have a damn good roster, and they've put together something good. I like Jalen Hurts. I think what they're doing for Jalen Hurts is what the Bears are now going to try and do for Justin Fields. Um, and I saw something the other day, might have been yesterday, of Eagles fans saying that Jalen Hurts is a more natural, or that they were laughing at saying Justin Fields was a more natural passer than Jalen Hurts. And I gotta say, to all Eagles fans, I know you guys are delusional. I know you're the craziest fan base in all of America in every sport, but Jalen Hurts is not a better natural thrower of the ball than Justin
No.
Fields. It's just not it. Now, like, is he a stronger runner? Sure, but even like a pound for pound athlete, like straight up, I mean, just put the tape on. Justin is better. So that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to bring down Jalen Hurts because I like him, and I think the
No,
Eagles are
you can
very
do
good.
it.
They're obviously better than the Bears right now, but good trade for both teams. Um, it's Poles really has to do his homework in the draft this year because the free agent class we talked about it already. It's really
Weak,
not that good. It's not that good.
weak.
So it's not a good year to have as much cap space as we do. Um, so I hope they don't overpay for free agents next year because hopefully in 24 the class will be better. God, I
That's a
pray it
fair
is.
point. That's a fair point. I
So
never even
because
thought about that.
you can't say like just because this is the first year of my Super Bowl window that I have to go all out this year and like
Good
put
point.
myself in bad position for next year. So I I hope that's in the minds of the people in the Bears front office because like you cannot pay Juju Smith-Schuster like 18 million
Mm-mm.
bucks for like 3 years. Like
Mm-mm.
it just can't happen. You can't pull a Christian Kirk for like the Jaguars did. I think the Jaguars were like, this is our, we have the coach, we have the cap space. Let's just go. We have the draft picks. Let's do it. Let's go all out right now. And maybe now, I know again, like we said, this year is not a good free agent class, but Trevor's on his rookie contract through this year and next year. So Jaguars, hopefully they didn't shoot themselves in the foot, and I hope the Bears don't make the same mistake.
This is such a good point. And I think based off of what we've seen from Ryan Poles, I think you might be right that that's going to be their approach this offseason. We've seen
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Poles make a conceited effort to save as much money as he can and not spend it immediately. And I think that's what they might do. You have to understand that, I don't know what the rest of the free agent class looks like as far as the other positions of need for the Bears. I know wide receiver is not good. We know tight end is not exciting either. But what does defensive edge look like? What does, nose 3 tech look like? Those areas I have to take a look at because I would be fine paying top dollar for the number 1 3 tech coming out in free agency this year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you are paying for a bona fide star, I think some of the issues with the Jaguars was they're paying guys who are still relatively unproven, right? You paid $72 million to Christian Kirk, a guy who was a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 in Arizona, hoping he could be your wide receiver 1. And he looked like it through a couple games. Then he kind of fizzled out and he hasn't been, what you paid for. And that's what it's all about is you have to get value out of all your guys. You have to get value out of what you pay for. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
this is a common thing in finances and life. You know what I mean? You pay $100 for something, I better get my full $100 worth of it. The same applies for these football players.
Right.
And you feel if you go out and you get a Wendy's 4 for $4, why do you love the 4 for $4? Because you paid $4 for it, but it's an incredible value. It tastes good. It fills you up. It's got 4 different components. It's incredible. And that's how you feel about, the guys that you can pay $2 million who end up being impactful players on your team or find, 5th round rookies in the draft like Braxton Jones. That's good value. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think Ryan Poles understands the luxury of that and isn't going to overpay for anybody. Now, here's what I think they could do, acknowledging the fact that, hey, regardless of whether you don't like the free agent class or not for wide receivers, you have no choice but to bring somebody in. You have to bring in a draft pick and you probably have to bring somebody in just because you are so decimated,
It's got to
not
be
by
2
injury, but
guys.
just by
It's got to be a
talent.
high
Right.
draft pick and a high trade
Right.
acquisition or free agent, something like that.
Or right, exactly. The former of what you just said. Trade acquisition. And we're not going to have another episode before the trade deadline. We might have our post game episode from the Cowboys game because the trade deadline is Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So you are coming up on it, and I think, Kellyn, we talked about it a little bit. I don't know if it was on our TikTok stream or on this, if we talked a little bit about the free agent or the trade market and what you think they may do, but you acquire that 4th round pick for Robert Quinn. Do they repurpose that trade or that pick for a trade for a wide receiver, whether that be Jerry Jeudy or Elijah Moore, who's rumored to be out there, or Chase Claypool, or one of these names that want to get out of their current situations?
Mm-hmm.
I think they could, right? I mean, and especially, I think you could see a situation. Now, I do think Ryan Poles is doing the right thing and isn't doing the Ryan Pace, where if they were to win on Sunday, right, and get to 4-4, you can't go into full spend mode and say, hey, we're 4-4. This is our chance to make the playoffs. Let's overpay for somebody. You can't do that. You can't get to that point and say, hey, let's drop a couple second rounders for DJ Moore. No, don't do that. You know what I mean? Don't get baited by being 4-4 and mortgaging the future just for what could be this year, because obviously that's not realistic. And you have this vision. He has this schedule, and that doesn't align to the schedule that he has created. But if you could get a Claypool or a Jeudy for a 3rd or 4th, because the free agent market is so piss poor and no one knows what's going to shake out in the draft, I think you're going to take a wide receiver regardless. Do you think it's logical for them to be at least active and at least taking calls on these guys before the deadline on November 1st? Because I think it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, you got to. I know Judy has struggled with his hands in the league, but I think a lot of it is his attitude right now, and he kind of needs a fresh scene. There's Claypool. He's a great player, man. I just he needs to come here and put his head down and be a good football player, and don't be that goofy guy that we've grown used to and laughed at. Elijah Moore, I would love, but it seems like he's back on good terms with the Jets now. People have talked about DJ Moore. I know we talked about it last week, I think, but it might not happen. I pulled up the 24 scheduled free agent class.
For 2024.
Mike Evans,
Jesus
who
Christ.
before before people say anything, if you say Mike Evans will be re-signed, that's fine. Like we can assume that, but at the same time, like that might be a year where the Buccaneers are coming. That guy's like the most consistent human being in the NFL every year, 1,000 yards. Buccaneers might be rebuilding at that point because it'll be the end of Brady's tenure. A lot of these guys are getting old. They're getting injured. They're getting banged up. They're going to try and probably build around the next guy. Maybe Evans isn't part of that, next regime. Bears have a lot of money to go get him.
You get me excited about 2024, man. This is
My bad.
ridiculous.
My bad. And then KJ Osborne, who's probably going to want at least wide receiver 2 money, who's wide receiver 3 on the Vikings right now. Not saying that I don't know when Thielen's scheduled to become a free agent. He's not on this list, so it might be in 25 or sometime after that.
Okay. Oh, Kellyn, where'd you go? Kellyn dropped out. KJ Osborne. I don't know. I'm not overpaying for KJ Osborne. Mike Evans is a great name, though. Now, at that point, Mike Evans would probably be what, like early 30s, though? You're looking at sort of a DeAndre Hopkins type price as Kellyn returns.
I exited out the wrong window. My bad.
It's okay.
Worst mistake I've ever made on this podcast.
Yeah, we're kicking you off. You're done. Goodbye.
But yeah,
What do you,
not talking about 2024 and
yeah.
2022 is the best idea, but just saying that there are going to be better names out there, and Poles has to stick with his vision. Like I think I give him more credit than I give Trent Baalke, as far as general manager and being smart with money and not overpaying for guys. I hope that's what he's shown us so far is he's being cheap. That is what he's doing. So, but I like that. I don't like that. Sometimes it seems like our quarterback is getting killed because of it. But I know that's the vision, and like Mike has talked about on this podcast, it's just that might be what Poles has told Eberflus and Fields, and gets that that's just what they have to work with for now because it's just hard to make it better. So
Yeah. So of the names, we went Jerry Jeudy, we went Elijah Moore, we went Chase Claypool, and I keep blinking on the DJ Moore, and then there's like one other guy who's rumored to be traded in the free agent market or in the trade market. And he may not be rumored to trade it, but there's been rumblings about, I don't know, but we'll go with those 4 guys. So we'll go Jerry Jeudy, DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Elijah Moore. You kind of put away the Elijah Moore rumors, and I'm kind of with you, but we've seen this thing kind of happen before. Of those 4, who do you think is the most realistic to be traded if the Bears were to be active at the deadline? And who of them, for the right value, do you want the most?
who's the most likely? I think Jerry Jeudy.
Okay.
Who is? I think you can get DJ Moore for a second and a fourth.
Do you
And
pay that much for DJ Moore?
I would do that for DJ Moore. I would do that right now. I'd do it.
A 2 and a 4.
I'd do a 2 and a 4 for DJ Moore, and that might not be enough. Now, then you start getting like anything higher than a 2 is a no,
Touchdown
and
Ravens. Wow.
2 twos is also a no. I think
Okay.
a 2 and a 4, maybe a 2 and a third is as high as I'd go.
Okay. So both this year? Because I don't know if I'm willing to give up our second and our third this year. If you were to do a 2 and a 4 this year, that's fine. I would not love giving up the 2, but you have a second 4 now because you trade for Robert Quinn. But because you don't have a second 3, unless you get really lucky and get a third rounder from the conditional formula, the conditional draft pick that they're going to definitely get given how much they lost this year and the formula that goes into that, I imagine they would not give up 2 picks this year unless it was including the 4th rounder they just got from Robert Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
For Robert Quinn. Yeah, because the thing is that 4th rounder also is going to be a late 4th round pick because the Eagles are going to be so good.
What about What about a 2 and a 3 next year and a fourth, and the fourth we got for Robert Quinn? Would you do that?
No. Three picks before round 4. 2, 3 this year, 4 next year. No way. I can't do that. Again, like you just can't. And I think they have this ideology and this idea and this mindset that we're going to build this team through the draft. We're going to build this team from the ground up. And I don't think they're going to overpay. I mean, you saw like he's probably sitting there saying, bro, I just potentially got a Pro Bowler this year and Jaquan Brisker in the second round. I could do that again. I'm not going to give away a second rounder for
That's a good
DJ
point.
Moore, a guy who's established. Again, this was the mistakes that Ryan Pace made in
That's a good point, Kevin.
certain situations. So I think you have to find the value, and that's why the first name you said, Jerry Jeudy, jumps out to me, because the problem with DJ Moore is you're paying for reputation with DJ Moore because he's done it, and you have to pay a little bit higher value for him because you know that regardless, he is going to probably be worth. He's going to give you production that's equal to whatever the highest possible production you could get from a guy in the second or third round. You know what I mean? But when it comes to Jerry Jeudy, it's unknown. He's not proven, and teams are going to sit there in negotiations with the Broncos and say, dude, we're not paying you a second rounder for Jerry Jeudy when we could go into the second round this year and find a guy who's 3 years younger, who could be just as good, if not better, because Jerry hasn't done anything in the league yet. He's showed flashes like a bunch of other guys in the league have, but he hasn't showed the consistency, and his quarterback situation is certainly there. But when you look at the numbers and when you're in a negotiating circumstance with other GMs, who is the Broncos GM? Is Elway the GM too?
Nah,
He's not.
he is an advisor. I forgot who they hired, but they
I don't
hired
remember who the GM of the Broncos is.
Looking it up now. George Patton.
Who the ever the F that is. If you're George Patton, you can't say, oh, well, Jeudy had 1,000. He hasn't had 1,000-yard season yet, I don't believe. I think he topped out at 800, and he dealt with injury, I think, his rookie year. But you don't have leverage when it comes to your negotiations with Jerry Jeudy, and you're at a point where most of the times the people who are trading the player, like in the case of Ryan Poles and Robert Quinn, are looking for teams to be desperate. And I think the Eagles were a little bit desperate, and I think they overpaid. But if you're George Patton, the Denver Broncos, you're the desperate one. You're the one who traded multiple first-round picks for Russell Wilson. It's not working out for you. Your team is 2-5. You're desperate to regain any picks that you can. So the leverage is in the hands of the trade suitors, in the hands of a guy like Ryan Poles saying, dude, you need a pick. You just need a pick. And you can't sit here and tell me that we're getting second round value out of a guy who hasn't put up, second round, even first round career numbers, but even second round, value numbers in Jerry Jeudy this far. And you're banking on upside. And if you're banking on upside, I'm not willing, and I don't think most GMs are willing to give up a second or third round pick. So I think you could get Jeudy for a fourth, and maybe you package a fifth in there as well. And if that's the case, you do it. I'm not sitting here saying Jerry Judy's bad, but I think that's the reality of the situation.
No, I'm with that too. And here's a thing that you got to think about too, is that Justin, the biggest thing that Justin has to do right now, and it's got to happen like pretty soon, like we got to start seeing some improvement with it, is anticipation and understanding when a guy is open, and Jerry Judy's skill set is built for seeing a man open because the separation happens instantaneously. It doesn't happen over time. Like a guy is not separate. He is not a separator with the ball in the air. Like Jamar Chase is a guy where that's why him and Joe Burrow they make so many plays where, that the back shoulder throws are the ones where it just seems like, damn, like they're really on the same page because Jamar is the guy that separates with the ball in the air. Jeudy is not like that. Jeudy is a guy that will snap you off after the stem, after the branch of his route. And that separation happens as soon as that brick is made. So that's Justin's thing right now, and he has to get better at it. But for him to get comfortable and for him to understand, there's going to have to be some guys that are making more plays off of those breaks. And I think Jeudy is that guy. Now, again, he has to catch the ball. That's his problem right now. He can't catch the ball right now.
As a receiver.
That's a big thing, man. He is a wide receiver. But I think that's a big part when you think about it, for Justin. And Elijah Moore is a hell of a route runner too. Don't get me wrong. Elijah Moore's got really strong hands and is a really good route runner. Jeudy's better though. Jeudy's, as far as route running goes, maybe outside of Justin Jefferson, from as far as like a prospect, a young guy we've seen come out of college, is the best route runner ever.
Wow.
I'm not alone in that. I don't think I'm alone in saying that.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And I don't know if it's translated 100% to the NFL. But as what we saw from college, and he's still a young dude. What we saw from college, and he's a really young dude still. He is one hell of a route runner.
You making a phenomenal point, and I'm Scott agrees that you make a phenomenal point here because this has been something we've talked about since the inception of the Bears' offensive struggles, specifically the offensive line, is he can't afford to wait for EQ St. Brown to use his speed after the stem as you mentioned, right? Because he's not getting separation there. But
Mm-hmm.
if he's got a defender on his hip, but say he's running a post route, right? And this is what you're talking about. And he hits that break. He hits the break. He hits the stem at a post route. And the defender's right on his hip. Yeah, he could get separation there because he's just probably faster than that guy. He's an extremely fast player. But at that point, the pocket's collapsing. Sam Mustipher is getting blown up. There's A-gap pressure. He's getting destroyed already. He can't wait for that. And that's why we talked about what we thought Luke Getsy needed to design more routes that aren't down the field and take longer to develop. And I think he did a great job of that against the Patriots on Monday. But you also don't want to take away one of the bigger aspects of Justin Fields' game, and that's the deep ball. I mean, this was the number one thing coming out of college for Bears fans that they would point to was Justin Fields is an incredibly good deep ball passer because they saw his accuracy was like number one in college football history in deep throw accuracy. And, we had seen it at Ohio State. We know what we were dealing with. But for fans that didn't see it, they looked at those numbers and they're like, holy crap, you're getting a really, really talented deep ball thrower. And aside from a couple shots here and there to Darnell Mooney, they don't take those shots, And again, part of the reason is I think Justin's a smart enough player to, he's not going to just air it out there and say, F it, EQ St. Brown's down there somewhere. EQ doesn't have the luxury of being that good where Justin can feel comfortable doing that. But if you have 5 yards of separation, that's a lot. A couple yards of separation at that stem, Justin's going to feel more comfortable throwing it while he's getting hit. Just throwing it at all towards those guys. And to be quite frank, as much as we love Darnell Mooney, in those deep shots to Darnell, it's not that much separation. Like Darnell's a really fast guy, and I think he's actually a really good route runner. He's a technician at times I see when he's running his routes. But, I mean, be honest, when you think about those plays just this year and a couple last year to Darnell Mooney, how many of them does he have like a legitimate amount of separation where if it's a good ball or even if it's a little bit underthrown, he's running away from the guy? You don't see that too often.
Yeah, no, we need to see more from him too, because I feel like he kind of had it a little bit more in 2020 than he does now, as far as the deep separation goes. But again, like if this offense doesn't have to be built around the deep ball right now. Now, eventually, you have to build toward, progress toward that because it has to become a part of your offense. Because
correct,
hopefully you get fast. You have fast guys now. Hopefully, you get fast guys that are consistent catching the ball up and down the field. You got a guy at quarterback who has a very good deep ball, who's very accurate with the deep ball. So you do have to build around that eventually. But as of right now, your offensive line is not built to stand, like you said, Kevin. They're all not built to stand in there for a long time and take those downfield shots. So a guy like Judy, who is really good in the intermediate game, and not the more I talk about it, I guess the more I really am in for a Judy trade. But just any guy like that who can really create separation, right off the bat. You don't have to see him open. I think that's very valuable to the offense right now because then Justin doesn't hold the ball. Then Justin doesn't take sacks. Then Justin doesn't leave the pocket when he doesn't have to. When he has that guy, when he has players like that,
Absolutely. You just talked me right into it. You just talked like Judy was already the number one on my list because I think he has the most upside. But again, just his tape coming out of college and he's still young, and it makes a lot of sense. Now, I am Skox here in the chat. Speaking of taking shots, that deep corner route on third down to EQ was overthrown or thrown out of bounds, ? He asks, because it wasn't even catchable. I'm trying to remember that play. I can't remember that play. I remember the shot to Mooney in the corner that that Aikman was talking about. He needs to throw that a little bit with a little bit more air under it. I think he said it was too flat, and on a play like that, he needs to put some more air under it to make it catchable because he had thrown like a laser, and it was just way over the head of Darnell Mooney on that. It was tight coverage as well. But I'm trying to think about this throw to EQ. I can't remember it. Do you? Corner, probably on the left side of the field. Man, I don't remember that, but there was a couple of plays like that where he did look for the shot and he kind of overthrew it. I think, Justin was doing a good job on Monday night. If that play had happened during a lead, I think he was conscious of, hey, we're playing a good football game. Our defense is playing well. Let's not make a mistake that's going to flip the momentum of this game. We're on the road against Bill Belichick. One mistake, one interception there in that moment could completely change the trajectory of the game. So I think if I had to guess, although I don't remember the play exactly, it was probably a throwaway because he was conscious of that and just saying, hey, if it's not right there, I'm just going to toss it out where our offense is working anyway. This isn't a must-have play. And I think that's what they were going for there. And I've seen that a couple times from Justin, I think, where he's in those moments, he's not entirely as aggressive as he can be. Because I think he's just conscious of the moment. But, again, you also can't blame him. If he recognizes that there's less than a yard of separation and the defender's right at the hip, sure, you can argue that he should have the confidence to put it in the perfect spot, but the smart play might just be sail it over his head and don't force anything.
Yeah, especially in the red zone, too. If you're toward the end zone, you don't want to, unless you're like, you're
End
just
zone
feeling
corner.
it. But
Yeah, I think I
don't
remember
know.
this now. Yeah, I think I remember this. Throw it out.
And this is something that Justin does have to get better with, like 100%. Like it can't always be like, I need to see my guy open. But what I'm saying is
true.
now, for his growth and for his confidence and for him to develop, I think that might be important to have a guy like that, because let's be honest, that is the weakness that we all knew that was part of his coming into the league. We all know the talent. And in order to cash out on that, that just might be what you have to do. Like in some cases, if you say this is what this is what we drafted, and this is what we have to do to get him to this point, sometimes you have to do whatever that thing is in the middle to get him there. And in this, getting a player like that might be what they have to do.
Absolutely. Man, I'm sold. I'm sold. Now, I will say, of those four players, DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, who was the names we said? Elijah Moore
And Jerry Jeudy.
And Jerry Jeudy, I would say from most likely to least likely to be traded, most likely is Chase Claypool. Least likely is probably DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Second most likely is probably Elijah Moore. And I think third most likely is Jerry Jeudy. Again, the only reason I say that is it makes too much. I alluded to the fact that it makes too much sense for the Broncos to reload on picks and give up or just get back a fourth rounder because you're 2-5. But at the same time, if you're the GM, if you're George Penn, aren't you sort of sending mixed signals at that point? Because here you are in the offseason mortgaging everything. You're paying Courtland Sutton. You're giving up a heck of a lot for Russell Wilson. And then if you start to say, hey, we're going to sell a guy who we still think can be pretty good in this offense, it's sort of giving this signal that, well, what's your plan? You're going two totally different directions now, just 7 weeks after the season has begun. Here we are in the beginning of the season. People are picking us to win the Super Bowl. We're all in. We're spending money on talented players. We're extending guys. We're giving up draft capital for Russell Wilson. 7 weeks into the season, you give up on that, although they're 2-5, and it's like a 2% chance to make the playoffs because the AFC is pretty loaded right now. I am worried that it sort of does give a mixed signal, and that could prevent him and deter him from doing that.
Yeah. Hope not. I think that they know that there is some offloading that they have to do, just because of frustration, and some guys just need to change and all of that. And maybe it's not Jeudy, maybe it's KJ Hamler. Maybe they're a part of the same rookie draft class. I'm not saying that he's the best fit for the Bears, but I'm saying as far as the Broncos, I think that they have to offload someone. And I hope for the Bears' sake that it's Jeudy, and I hope he comes to the Bears for the right price. But, we'll see what Patton and company does.
Absolutely. A lot of trade talk. Let's go back to the Bears here. Let's talk a little bit of Bears-Cowboys here. We're going to preview this game just a little bit for you guys here. For those in the chat who were here last night, we did the recording last night. There was a ton of lag and a ton of latency there, so we weren't able to really put out that audio. So we're going to do kind of a redo preview of the Bears-Cowboys game. So apologies for a little bit of redundancy for those in the chat. I am Scox, one of them. But Kellyn is here instead of Jake, so he'll have a couple fresh takes for us on Bears Cowboys, and I'm pretty amped up about this game, Kellyn. And I don't know how you can't be, right? I mean, given what happened on Monday night, everyone's back in on the Bears. It's not just us anymore, Kellyn. It was us on Tuesday Night Therapy saying everything's going to be all right, saying we're going to be fine, and all the Bears are going to be fine, and no one bought into it. And now the Bears get one big time win, and now everyone's back in. They're jumping right back on the bandwagon, and you have a chance to go and it's essentially it's essentially another primetime game because they get the main game on Fox. And apparently, like, I looked at the coverage map, like 80% of the country is seeing Bears Cowboys, for the main game on Fox in the local markets. So a lot of eyes once again on the Bears. And of course, people love to clown the Dallas Cowboys. So people are going to have their attention facing Bears Cowboys at noon in Jerry's World. What's your temperature on this game as far as how confident you feel?
God, I don't know where to gauge this Bears team. I don't know if they're the type to like come off a win how they just had and really, build
Capitalize?
it with momentum. Yeah, or if they, sometimes teams have emotional wins or big wins and then they fall flat the next week. So
Very true.
I hope that this is not the case for the Bears, obviously. I hope they play a good game. I think the Cowboys have a better roster than we do. I think they have a better football team than we do. I don't think a lot of people would disagree with that for the most part. But are we built to compete with them? Yes.
Oh,
Are we built to is Matt Eberflus and Luke Getsy hopefully doing the homework to get us going, get us moving the ball, and have the defense been playing the way they have? Absolutely. So I would say I'm lukewarm. I think that's a good term
that's
to talk
fine.
about.
We'll take lukewarm.
Yeah. So I don't know. When you don't ask me for my pick now because I wouldn't be able to
I
tell you.
won't.
But because I think Micah Parsons was on the injury report
He
today,
was. He showed up.
so
He showed up
he's
as
gonna play
limited.
though, right? Okay.
I don't know. I mean, you
Don't
show
know.
up as limited, yeah, we've seen it happen before. If I'm going to evaluate this game as if he plays because it obviously changes way too much if he doesn't play, and I can't just
Right.
get my hopes up like that. I'm
Right.
evaluating it as if he plays, but you show up with something lingering, and who knows? Maybe they take the Bears for granted. Maybe they think, hey, I don't know what their schedule looks like after this game, but if they have a relatively tough schedule following the Bears, maybe they say, hey, why rush to get Parsons back out there when we have a bigger stretch coming up where it's the Chicago Bears, right? We can take them for granted.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to play Micah Parsons if we have a tough schedule after this week. Get him healthy, keep him rested up, and he plays next week. I could see the Cowboys and their dumbasses doing that. Sorry if there's any Cowboys Cowboys fans in the chat. Here's the
Probably
reason why I
shouldn't
think.
be.
I know there probably shouldn't be, but we've had Lions fans in here before. We've had all different sorts of people in here before. Here's why I believe it's sort of unknown for me how to evaluate this game because again, you mentioned, we've seen the Bears do this where they have wins and they come out flat the next week, and you see teams do this all the time. But when it comes to the Bears and this particular team and really this franchise, when was the last time they had a win this big against an opponent like that where, yeah, the opponent wasn't a phenomenal opponent, but I would say a good opponent, and obviously difficult circumstances with a young quarterback on prime time
Mm-hmm.
on the road against that head coach, the greatest coach of all time. I'll ask you, when was the last time they had a win of that magnitude? Not just because of the situation, but because you won the game by 19 points. I mean,
I don't know. I you
Bucks
know what?
Thursday Night Football in 2020.
Yeah, but they weren't dominant in that. We kind of
Exactly.
squeaked by. You know what I would
Exactly.
say is like 2018 last game of the season against the Vikings when like
Okay.
it was like, oh, the Vikings like they got to win this game to get in the playoffs and all this is and then the Bears came out in the whatever the fuck the M&T Bank
US
Stadium, not
Bank.
M&T, US Bank, and they just curb stomped them and they ran up and down the field. Kirk was very terrible. The defense was really good, but like that game didn't really matter to the Bears because they were already in the playoffs. You know what I mean? So that's not even the same. I don't know. I mean, think of how hopeless. We only played the Patriots every 4 years of our childhood, but think of how hopeless you felt almost every time we played against
Exactly.
them. And I know they don't have Brady anymore, and they're not the same team they used to be, but I mean, shit, still like this was a damn good win. It's a damn good win.
Yes. It was a dominant win. And this is why I say it's unknown, is because we haven't seen a win like this since 2018. We don't know how this team is going to respond because we haven't seen this before. Like, we've seen the Bears have impressive wins, big wins against bad football teams at home. Alluding to the Texans game in 2020, where you beat them like 38 to something, and Mitch had the great game, and Montgomery had that 90-yard run in the first drive, and they were able to stack a couple wins late in the season that year that got them into the playoffs. But again, we're talking about the circumstances and the magnitude of this win, and not only how difficult it was for them to go in there and do that, but the fashion in which they did it. is why I believe it's sort of unknown. We don't know. This could be the turning point that you mentioned, and they could go in and completely surprise the Dallas Cowboys and surprise some of these teams and go on a little bit of a run. Like it typically, I would say more often than not, when you see a team have a win as dominant as the Bears had on Monday night, it typically results in some sort of win streak. Like I feel like pretty rarely you will see a team fizzle out, at least for the next 4 weeks, fizzle out and lose a couple more games. Usually they'll either win the next game or win a couple more and go on a relatively nice run. And the Bears have a pretty favorable schedule coming up. And if you were able to beat the Cowboys and build momentum against those two teams on the road, and then you come home, I believe, for 2 consecutive games against the Falcons. Or wait, no, they don't play the Falcons at home. Who do they have the week after this? I can't remember. I should know this schedule like the back of my hand. You have a real potential to build some momentum. And I think given what this team has done, there's a real chance that that momentum is real and they could go on a little bit of a streak here. Who do they have?
We got the Dolphins, Sunday, November 6th. Right.
And all of a sudden, that's a team that looks extremely beatable. A team that started 3-0. Are they 4-3 now or 3-4?
They're 4-3. I would love to beat the Dolphins, man. I really would. God, I would. They're freaking Tua lovers of it, man. Like,
I hate
Tua he's benefiting so much from the system and the weapons around him. Like, he is the definition of a system quarterback right now, and he's doing a great job of operating and being a maestro of the system. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say he is bad, but he's not great. I saw Emmanuel Acho come out with a take today that said Tua was better than Justin Herbert, and I was like, and I know Dolphins fans just hate that shit up, and it's so pitiful. It's so pitiful.
He's not good. I mean, like, he's fine, but like, I don't know.
His talent is not on the level of even like a Zach Wilson, and I am not a Zach Wilson fan, and I think Tua will have more success than Zach Wilson, but I don't think the talent is there. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I totally feel you. That's a winnable game, and then they got the Falcons after that. They go on the road to Atlanta after that. I want to say
we are home against the Lions after Miami, and then we're on the road to Atlanta.
There you go. So those are 3 winnable games in a row that I would say you should win because you have Miami at home. And if you were to beat the Cowboys, I would say the Bears should be favored in that game and should win that game. You're going to have a bunch of winnable games, man. And it's really going to be a testament to like this team for the future in the era of Matt Eberflus. If you're able, because this is how this is what good teams do. Good teams win in dominant fashion, and then they keep winning. They stay consistent. They build something. They discover what works, right? Maybe it just took them 7 weeks to discover what worked. It took some time, all right? And that's fine. You have a really young team with a new system and a new head coach and a lot of injuries. You haven't even been fully healthy. Rightfully so, we can admit, whether you want to or not, it was probably from the start going to take a little bit more time than we anticipated. But because we're fans and because we want to see success so quickly, we weren't willing to be patient. But now that it's arrived here in week 7, maybe it all just clicked for them. It certainly seemed to click on Monday night, and man, if they can keep that rolling, like, it could be dangerous. And I forget who we had on today. We had somebody on the score. It was Boomer Esiason, I think, who was saying, if I were the 2 or 3 seed in the playoffs, and I saw the Bears as the 7th seed, I'd be scared as hell. Because he thinks that the Bears are a very, 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 very scary team to play in a 1-game winner-go-home matchup. And I was shocked to hear that. Like, trust me, I work for Chicago Sports Radio. We talk to national analysts every single hour. It's amazing how high the national media is on the Chicago Bears after that game. Like, it wasn't just a fluke for most people. Like, Trey Wingo, Boomer Esiason, Trent Dilfer, all these guys.
Dilfer and Warner, they really like Justin Fields.
Yeah, they love Justin Fields, but they're all thinking like, hey, the Bears are probably going to give the Vikings a run for their money in the NFC North. Like, that's what the narrative is right now in the national media. So,
yeah. Robert Lee, absolutely. 100%. No doubt about it. He is the most talented quarterback to ever step through the Bears organization. No doubt.
Absolutely. I mean, we knew that. We knew that from the start, and you're starting to see it. You are starting to see why. We had seen it before, the flashes of it, but the consistency has started to become evident. I guess we'll pick your brain a little bit more about that game on Monday night. we have a lot of great QB analysis out there, but none better than Kellyn Garrison here from the QB himself. There's a lot of people, again, I work with the Score, and Dilfer does a great job, and there's, Tim Jenkins out there who does a great job. But Kellyn, let's get your little here 5-minute breakdown. If you have a little breakdown prepared, if you can just kind of go off the cusp here of what you saw Monday night with Justin and why you think that was such a significant point, not in the career or not in the season of the Chicago Bears, but for the career of Justin Fields, kind of break down what you saw, what they did well, and why you think it was such a big leap for Justin Fields on Monday night, because this could very well be the point where we look back on Justin Fields' career 10 years down the line, and we said Monday, October, what was that, 22nd? Monday night, October, whatever it was the night that changed Justin Fields' career for the better. I want you to tell me why that could not be an asinine take.
Yeah. Let's start with first. The obvious thing is the use of the legs on the ground. Let's look at how important it was for young guys like Cam and Lamar to incorporate that as a part of their game, and for it to obviously affect them as a passer, to make them a better passer. It happens with guys like that, and it will happen with guys like Kyler and future guys who come into this league who are of that style. You know what I mean? Like they don't want to be an athlete all their life and use their athleticism and then get to the NFL and be put into the mold. That's what we talked about. You can't put Justin in the mold of guys like Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins and others who have succeeded in this system and point to that as to why that's why we're making you do the things that you do. You can't do that. And then just, sheer raw talent that still hasn't been uncovered. We saw him, people are saying like the reason why Ohio State quarterbacks don't succeed and why, this is obviously a stupid take as it is, but before I say it, I want to clarify that. And people are saying like, we should be hesitant about CJ Stroud for that reason. Is that they're throwing to open receivers and the separation factor is just so easy. And admittedly, some of it is true, right? Guys like Marvin Harrison and Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming, Jackson Smith, and Jigba are not tested every Saturday in the Big Ten Conference. That's just what it is. But are you going to sit here and tell me that, Mac Jones and Bryce Young and Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow, and I know Joe Burrow's anticipation and his processing was really on point, but the guy was throwing to the two best receivers in college football, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase at the time, and another guy who was a second-round pick in Terrace Marshall. Oh, I forgot, they also had the son of arguably the greatest receiver of all time, and Thaddeus Moss was the son of Randy. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who was a first-round running back, a bunch of high-level draft picks on the offensive line.
That team was ridiculous.
You cannot tell me that just because that this is what he had in college is the reason why he's struggling in the NFL. No, that is Justin struggled with that in college too. There were times when we shouted at the TV like that guy's open, throw the ball. It wasn't a lot, but there were times it happened. So that sheer talent has yet to be uncovered. It has yet to be resolved. And obviously, he's a likable dude. I think Zach Wilson has made himself a likable dude, and there's nothing wrong with Zach Wilson. I just don't think he's that good of a quarterback as far as an NFL player goes. But, you hear Zach Wilson talk in an interview, you see him play on the field. He's not like an unlikable guy. He's not fucking dirty like Mac Jones is, right?
Oh, my God.
So there's so much of that has yet to be uncovered, and I know that he wants to be that. And part of all of his evaluations from like trusted guys were the same things: accurate, big, strong arm, not like a Mahomes or a Josh Allen or a Justin Herbert arm. Or you could still probably say Trevor Lawrence is a little bit stronger, but not really like it on a threshold that matters. You know what I mean? Like Justin can still make all the throws that Trevor can. Insane pound for pound athlete. Maybe Cam Newton is probably the best pound for pound athlete to ever play the quarterback position. And I'd put Josh Allen close behind, and I don't really know. Vic is up there, and I'm sure there's some guys that are older that are up there. But I'd put Justin, like, he's got to be top 10, if not top 5. The guy is 6'3" and runs almost a 4.3 40.
225.
He can throw the ball in the run. He's a force player in the run game. There's so many things that you can do with him. He does have to put it together. And you ask me, well, why should I have faith that he puts it together? Well, I'm just trusting my eyes. That's as simple as that. We'll if that's where we disagree, that's where we disagree. But he showed the accuracy in college. He showed it at times in the NFL. I think a lot of it is him being confident and just getting more experience behind I know Lucas Patrick just went on IR, but a hopefully more
Mm-hmm.
stout offensive line that can give him time, because right now he does need it, because he is understanding, the flow of the game more and more as it goes on. But I think there's less of those moments every game where you say like, that was rough. There's less and less of those now. There was a couple in the Washington game. There was even less in the Patriots game, and there's more positive plays too. I mean, not everyone. I know it was just a screen pass, but not everyone can make that play. Not everyone can see the edge rusher coming right off the snap,
True.
pump it, get him to jump, and then throw around him with the sidearm. I know a lot of guys are being trained to throw sidearm. We talked about to have a sidearm throw. We talked about that in the summer
Mm-hmm.
on Bears Nation podcast, but
We did.
not everybody can do that. And you saw like it was wet and the ball did not come out clean. It was a wounded duck. Somebody took a shotgun and shot that football right before it came out of Justin Fields' hand, but it got to Khalil Herbert and he made the throw. It's not like he flinged it in there. I mean, it was with good touch. It was put in the right place, and that's what you have to do at quarterback. You have to execute. That's how you win football games. Like we are not in the business of making Justin Fields Patrick Mahomes with 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards every year. Maybe Justin Fields' ceiling in his entire career is 4,300, 4,200 passing yards.
Right.
But hell, if we're consistently winning games, he's consistently making plays, and we're not turning the ball over, why are we complaining about that? I think everyone wants to turn him into this high level, 5,000-yard passer, and that's not what we have to do. So that's I don't know how long that was, but God bless.
Good
I'm
point.
so happy we got Justin Fields still.
I would agree. And now here's what I'm going to do real quick. I'm going to look at the statistics for Lamar Jackson in his 2019 MVP season. Okay, because you
Okay.
mentioned, maybe his ceiling is 4,200 yards. Maybe his ceiling is 4,200, 4,300 yards. And there's gonna be fans who say, well, that's not enough. You can't you can't be anything if you're not throwing for 45. There's gonna be people who think about that, right? And here's what I'll read to you. Okay. Lamar Jackson in 2019, who I believe was the unanimous?
I think
Yes.
so.
He was the first he was the second unanimous MVP in NFL history behind Tom Brady in 2010. Guess how many
He was
passing
the
yards Lamar
youngest
Jackson
one,
had
too.
that year?
Was it like 3,900? I don't even think he got 4,000.
Try again.
Was it
Try again.
3,600?
Try again.
Am I going the wrong way? Or am I going the right way?
You're going the right way.
34.
Try again.
32?
Try again.
What? Okay, 3,000.
31.
I don't. 31.
3,127
The
passing
Ravens
yards
were
a game.
what, 14-2 that year?
Yeah, something like that. They were
something
the
really
number
good.
one scoring offense in the NFL, and Lamar ran for 1,206 yards. So that's really obviously. And then I gotta they're 14-2, number one seed in the AFC, and they lost in the divisional round to the Titans. But I don't remember how many touchdowns he had that year, but obviously that was the biggest factor. But again, this is the narrative that you don't need to be a 4,200-yard passer to be the second unanimous MVP in NFL history. You know what I mean? And like, I think what people need to start understanding, and I think we have talked about this for the longest time and no one bought into it, was 40% of the reason Justin Fields is going to be a great player in this league is because he is a special runner. And week after week, you see special runs. And now that it's, an actual part of the game plan that has been implemented by Luke Getsy, I think you're going to see him get close year after year to probably that 1,000-yard rushing mark because there's 17 games this season, as he should. I mean, like, even if they weren't doing design runs, like, it's a relatively reasonable goal to reach. I'm checking his numbers right now. Again, I tweeted this out the other day, and we had people stealing it on Bears Facebook and everywhere. It kind of went viral. He has more rushing yards this year than Najee Harris, Alvin Kamara, Leonard Fournette, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and has more rushing yards than these quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Kyler Murray. Now, there is the truth that at the point when I tweeted that, Justin had played one more game than Allen and Hurts, and Kamara had been injured, and all those things are true. But again, it's proven the point that Justin Fields is a tier 1 rusher of the football among the quarterback position. I'd put Justin, Kyler, Allen, I'll put Hurts in there, and Lamar. Well, we'll say Lamar is in a tier of his own, and then Allen, Hurts, Kyler, and Justin are all in tier 2. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, that I love that you brought that up and that we looked at Lamar's stats there, and that 33 he only threw for 3,127 yards. How many yards is Justin on pace to throw this year?
You gonna do
In
the
7
math? Go ahead,
games,
do the math.
he has thrown
What's the yards per
1,048
game?
yards. He's going to get up around like 2,400. Okay. And that's including a couple games where Justin threw for like 60 yards. So if we're talking next year, Justin Fields rushes the football for 1,100 yards, he throws for 3,500, and he scores 27 touchdowns, Justin Fields is the top 3 candidate to win the MVP award if the Bears are a winning football team. And that's just the fact of the matter. I mean, that's what matters most at the end of the day when you talk about the MVP award is your team winning enough? Like if the Bears were to get the 1 seed, like your numbers could be less spectacular, but because you were the 1 seed, you're going to get the award. Like that's why Lamar got it in 2019. Not only was he great, but they were 14-2. You are literally proving that you are the most valuable player in the league. Think about the words in the acronym. So there you have it. That was fun. I might make that into a little TikTok. That's that because like it's eye-opening for a lot of Bears fans, I think, because we're so caught up in the history of the fact that we've never had a 4,000-yard passer, and everyone's waiting for that, like which is a mind-boggling statistic, and it's in the first place. But maybe it's not needed. Justin threw for how many yards against the Patriots?
Maybe it's not needed. When
he was under 200.
I think it was 182, something like that. 180. Fuck, I don't know.
You scored 33 points and manhandled the Patriots on 180 yards passing.
179. Yep.
Yeah. And like, yes, it's a passing league, and these things are true, and the Ravens haven't won a Super Bowl, but like, you got to win football games first. And if this is your formula for winning football games, and again, we're not saying Robert Lee makes a good point. He says, I think he can do it all. Give him a pocket, and he will throw from it along with everyone else he can do. Right. And we're not saying that Justin's ever going to be, not a great passer and saying, oh, well, he's not a good passer, so he must rely on his legs. We're just saying, like, if he doesn't ever reach that threshold, it's not a bad thing. But we do believe
a successful offense that is ran through Justin Fields may not look like a 5,000-yard passer is what we're saying. That doesn't, we can't let the yards define his success.
Ron Winarski in the chat. Justin is too good. He needs to be traded. He's too
all
good.
Right, Ron Winarski. All right.
I think Ron's a Bear. I think he's a Justin Fields guy. Cornelius Squall is also a Justin Fields guy. If you guys are in the chat, we're going to be here for a couple more minutes. We'll take all your questions and all your comments here before we head out. Everyone's now roasting Ron for that take. Drop in any questions, comments. This is, again, Tuesday night, Bears Therapy on a Thursday. I'm sure Kellen's probably doing homework in the background. He's got things to take care of.
I don't know what that is, my man.
Okay. I love it. That's for all the kids out there, stay in school, do your homework.
Yeah. Definitely do that. But when you get to my age, classes start to get a little boring. But that's not what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, when I was a senior in college, long ago, 4 months ago, I had no will to do anything. Yeah. You're like, I'm getting this diploma in a couple months. What's the point of me keeping the B in this class anyway? Anyway, kids, stay in school. Keep those straight A's. I just want to hear again your let's do this. Let's do bold predictions for the game on Sunday against Dallas. I'll go first so I can give you some time to think about it. Plus, I already had this thought about because we did it yesterday and no one will hear it because that audio is trash and we had to throw it away. But I'll say it again for that reason. Dominique Robinson, who will see a large increase in snaps because of the trade to Robert Quinn, has made his presence felt this year. In a number of ways when he's been on the field. He hasn't been on the field a lot. His snap percentage has been pretty low. I don't know the exact number for his yearly total, but obviously it's been Gibson and Muhammad and Quinn in that rotation before Dominique Robinson. But when Dominique Robinson has been on the field, he has been extremely impactful. And you're facing a team now with an offensive line that's been shakier than ever for the Dallas Cowboys and a quarterback specifically in Dak Prescott who holds the football a little bit too long and is extremely turnover prone, especially in the pocket when he loses the football and he doesn't feel the pressure coming from his backside. I think Dominique Robinson gets a strip sack in this game. He gets after the quarterback I think he's going to make the most of his increase in snaps. I think we're seeing it right now. He's going to come off the edge, on Dak's blind side, kind of just swat the ball away as he's in the throwing motion. Bears takeaway. Dominic Robinson makes his present felt on Sunday. That's my boldest prediction. If you guys have any bold predictions, please drop them in the chat. We'd love to hear them. But Kellyn, do you have something a scorching hot prediction? Because, hey, I was almost right about mine last week. So it makes a real good video on the internet if you can say this and be right. And I compare a video with it, and you will go viral, sir. So go with a bold prediction here that you think is 100% going to hit.
All right. Last time in a controlled environment, meaning a dome or a roof football stadium, Justin Fields had his highest passing output, his best game of the season to that point against the Vikings. And he didn't even have that good of a first half, to be honest. And now that Luke Getsy has found his stride in the passing game, Justin threw 27 attempts against the Washington Commanders, and I think against the Vikings and the Patriots, he threw 21, which are his highest totals of the season as well. I think he gets 250 yards for the first time in his career, I believe, as a passer. The Vikings secondary is a little bit more is better than the Cowboys, in my opinion. I know Micah Parsons is there. I know DeMarcus Lawrence is there, and I know that they have a solid football team. And Trayvon Diggs is who he is, but Trayvon Diggs is prone.
Trayvon Diggs is burnt toast,
to getting
bro.
beat. Yeah, Trayvon Diggs is prone to getting beat. He is great in phase, but he is also not good because he's great in phase. So Jerry World, Justin Fields, 250 passing yards. I don't know what else he totals with it, but I think 250 is reasonable.
Wow.
Yeah, you like that?
This is a good point. This is a good point. I love it. And I will say he had 291 against the Steelers last year on Monday Night Football.
Okay.
Total. Yeah, and I looked that up. I was like, I'm pretty sure he had plus 250 before, and I think he had a.
Was there any other time?
I want to say he might have had it against the Lions that one game last year when he was going off with Mooney, and they put up like a ton of points.
God, that was a fun game. I remember that.
I remember I was in the car in that game back, and I was watching. I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, "This is it! Justin and Mooney, it's the future." And there was all the controversy still about Dalton, and it was, I was like,
yeah,
209. He only had 209 that game. Yeah, so I think this would only be the second time he's cleared 250. But I like that, and I honestly was thinking about this. I was like, man, like, in a dome, like, is he a different player to dome? Like, do we need to build Arlington tomorrow if this is the case? Like, put a dome, just like get a helicopter and drop a big ass dome on Soldier Field. Maybe he's just a dome killer. I'm trying to think of the other games that he played in a dome in last year. I mean, he had the rushing touchdown against the Rams in week 1. What other dome games did they play last year? I mean, you had the two.
I got the game log up right now.
You had the one in Minnesota, where again, last year he didn't play in Minnesota. He had a good game against the Raiders and a dome. He had a good game that game. Or it wasn't a great game, but they won, and he had a relatively okay game.
He played pretty well that game. They didn't really cut him loose, but he played. He was good when they needed him to be. That was good.
I like how we're scheming up here that we're making.
Listen, man. I don't want them to leave Soldier, but no. Want to talk about it, man. They're gone. They got to go.
Who has to go?
The Bears. They got to.
No.
They got to leave.
Restructure it, put a dome on top of it. It's gonna be fine. Stay in Soldier. We're all good. It's gonna be great.
It's like Minecraft. You just put glass over the top of it.
Yeah, exactly. As a quarterback, Kellyn, like, is there really a difference between playing in a dome? Like, be honest. Like, is there?
In the city of Chicago, when your home games are on the lakefront? Yes, there is. But I mean, you wear the swag you want. Like, when it gets cold out, you see Justin put the left glove on. And good I don't know, for guys like, for me, like, now that it's getting cold, you watch my games now, I wear 2 gloves. I'm 5'9". I got decent sized hands, but it's like putting sticky tack on a pitcher when they're gripping a baseball, right? You get more revolutions on the ball. That's how I feel when I wear 2. I wear 2 gloves now. I just wear 2 gloves, scored 6 touchdowns in a game 2 weeks in a row. For those who are following. So
6 touchdowns. Holy.
You do what you're comfortable with. You know what I mean? So maybe that is a thing for, in the dome. You're not cold. You're not hot. Just playing football. The environment's pretty cool. You're not thinking about the wind. You're not thinking about the rain or whatever's happening. So yeah, I mean, shit. Maybe it does matter.
Maybe it is a real thing. For all our bettors out there and all people that are probably watching us while you're watching Thursday Night Football, I'm putting $10 on the Buccaneers to win the game right now. They're down 9 points, or they're down 11. Sorry, they're down 11 at the 2-minute warning. They have 2 timeouts.
They're
I'm
on their
feeling
own 25.
I'm feeling a miracle, Kellyn. I'm putting
Okay.
$10 down. I think the Buccaneers are going to pull this off. This has to happen. Brady has gone 302 games or 305 straight games without losing, or three consecutive games. You're telling me tonight is the night? No way. All right, live bet the Patriots, or not the
Okay.
Patriots. Jesus Christ. Live bet the Buccaneers. You could win yourself a ridiculous amount of money.
Shout out Betstamp.
Shout out Betstamp. Use code BEARS when signing up for Betstamp. Kellyn's doing the promo for me. Here I am. I do everything for this show, and I completely forget to do the damn promo. I apologize. But use code. If you guys are over 21 and are able to bet, download Betstamp. Even if you're not able to bet legally, I'm sure you do. There's Bovada and there's other websites that give you the capability to do that. Use code BEARS and Betstamp. It helps us out a lot. We really, really would appreciate if you guys could download that app and use our code. That would mean so much to us. We appreciate you guys' continued support. This is the point in the show where I hope to have convinced Kellyn for the last hour and 5 minutes that the Bears can win the game on Sunday, and we will see if it comes true, because it is our game predictions portion of the show for all of you guys in here. Again, we appreciate you got good viewership right now. For all of you, 10:09 Central Time, 11:09 Eastern Time, while you're watching us in bed or wherever you may be. I don't know, but here you are. All right, Kellyn. Bears Cowboys. Noon on Sunday. We laid out the narratives, coming off a huge win against the Patriots on Monday night. Again, in Jerry's World, in a dome, though. It's Justin in a dome. Maybe he's a different animal under the enclosed roof. I know where I'm leaning in this game. I had to kind of convince myself to do it as well, but I hope I did the same for you. Let's get the official prediction from Kellyn Garrison on Bears Cowboys on Sunday. Let's go. Come on, do it.
Okay.
No, okay, go. Let's say this again. I'm 5-2 on the year in picks. Kellyn's 3-4. And I'm not saying this to rub it in. I'm just saying, if you were to believe anyone, I'm just saying. No, he needs a win this week. Kellyn needs a win to get back to 500 on the picks record. Who we got?
I'm going to take the Chicago Bears to win this football game.
He did it. What's the logic, though? You can't just say. We need a logic.
The Cowboys actually have a pretty solid pass defense. I just looked it up. They're like top 10 in the league in passing yards allowed. But
they are.
Kevin, you're right, man. Momentum matters. Coming off a win like that matters. You're like you tweeted out. I loved Eberflus saying, "Who's surprised by this?" Everyone said nobody, and he goes, "Well, that's what happens when we put the work in, we execute." And he's he's really like a pedestrian level rah guy. Like he doesn't have any of that, and I like that. I kind of like that because Nagy, and I love the way Nagy celebrated wins. I really liked it, with the boom, and all that was really cool and really fun to see. But was it sustainable? Was this style of football sustainable? Obviously not. So I think this is more geared toward the Bears, and coaching matters. And I am not a fan of Mike McCarthy as a football coach in the National Football League. Dak Prescott is did he play against the Eagles? No, he didn't, right?
Nope, that was Cooper Rush on Sunday night.
Yeah, so this is his first game back. Zeke is hurt. Not really that matters.
They beat the Lions last week.
Oh, that's not a real football team.
True.
I'm gonna take
basically
the
Bears.
A bye. I think this is sometimes weird things happen in the NFL and the better team does not win, and this is one of those weeks.
It was one of those weeks last week. It wasn't just the Bears and the Patriots. It was the Commanders and the Packers. It was the Panthers and the Buccaneers, who look like they might lose again, and I might lose out on my money here. God damn it. Someone stop me. It's okay. Use code BETSTAMP and it'll be all right. Or use code BEARS in BETSTAMP. It'll be all right. Weird things are happening. It's not just this week or last week. It's been the entire season in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Jets are 5-2. The Giants are 6-1. Like if any given Sunday, if there was ever a year where that has been as true as ever, it's this year. And again, you said coaching matters. Like Matt Eberflus was the best coach on the field on Monday night against the greatest coach of all time. He outcoached him, and not just barely outcoached him. He dominated.
Belichick complimented him on it too, and like they made like kind of a scene in midfield at the end of the game. Like Belichick felt the need
And that's
He's not going to
rare.
Matt Eberflus. Yeah, that never happens.
He
Belichick
traditionally
doesn't give a fuck about anyone else. That's
no,
very
and
rare.
there's been controversy before of him not shaking hands and him not being nice in those post-game meetings that they do. So yeah, that's a significant thing. Like he sees something
Mhm.
in Matt Eberflus, and you kind of look at hindsight now, and everyone was. I think you tweeted it after he did his whole spiel of how good he thought the Bears were 3 days before the game, and I think you said you were like, "This is not good." You said this is not good, and maybe he was onto something. Maybe he knew he saw the
Maybe he
writing on the
was onto
wall.
something, man.
He knew.
I trust my eyes, but I trust Bill Belichick's eyes more than mine. So maybe he sees something we don't.
Yeah, you probably should. All right, what was your score prediction for the game? You said the Bears are going to win. I need a specific score for the
I'm
graphic.
going to go 31-24.
Jesus, wow. Okay, back-to-back 30-point games. Brady sacked. God
Because why the hell not, Kevin? Because why the hell not?
yeah, because why the hell not is right. All right. This is what I like to hear. This is what I love to hear. You're going in on the Bears, and so am I. All right. This is what we're gonna do, baby. Let's go. I do believe in what this team has built, and I said it from the start. This team, I think, can win 9 games this year, 10 games, and if they play like they did against the New England Patriots, 100%, they can win that many games. Is Bill passing the torch? Says Ron Winarski. I mean, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just for the sake of it, let's say yes. Like if Matt Eberflus were here for 25 plus years and won you 6 Super Bowls, 7, I'd be pretty happy. So for
The
that sake, we're
statue
gonna
would
agree
be
with Ron
built
Winarski.
after the first Super Bowl,
Yeah,
let alone if he won more than one,
the
man.
statue
Imagine.
would be built of Jack Sanborn if we won the first Super Bowl and he played like that. Like you're building a statue of the entire team.
Of
I'll
Jack
just
Sanborn.
like I that's where we're at. He was our training camp hero. That's what we're going with. But I have the Bears winning this game. What score did I have? I think I said 23-20 or 24-23 Bears win. Game-winning field goal by Carlos Santos. We have to give that guy a little bit of credit. Not a little bit, but a lot of bit of credit. I mean, Carlos Santos, NFC special teams player of the week, has been an absolute dog, nailing field goals from range as well. He's hit like pretty much all of his 50 yarders. I think all of them this year, 50 plus yards, and he's not a guy that has a lot of leg to him. Hell of a job by Carlos Santos so far, and I think he continues it. I think it's a close game again. For those who think the Bears are going to get boat raced, you're out of your damn mind. I mean, the Bears are 8.5-point underdogs. They're not losing by 9 points. I mean, they've been close in every single game this year. And after what they just did last week, I was shocked that they were 8.5-point underdogs. I'm taking the Bears. I think this is a huge game where the Cowboys, who are a turnover-prone team, are going to turn the ball over, and maybe the Bears do. But as long as you get one more turnover than the other team, your odds of winning the game are in your favor if you win the turnover battle and win the turnover margin. I think they do that on Sunday. I go Bears 24-23. That's 2 Bears wins for Kellyn and I. Boy, does he need a win to get back to 500 on the picking record before he loses all credibility. I'm just kidding.
I didn't know it was that rough for me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
You got to look at the graphics, man. It's because you've been baited. Like you've believed in the Bears when you rightfully should have believed in them, and then you didn't believe in them when you shouldn't have. Like me picking the Patriots was unexpected. Like you had every right in the world, or me picking the Bears in that game. Sorry, was unexpected. You had every right in the world logically to pick the Patriots in that game. Who else did you pick? I think the problem was
I
you
picked them to
believed
beat
too
the
hard.
Packers.
Yes,
Yeah, I
exactly.
did.
That's what I
I
mean.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've been a
I thought the
confusing
slip
team.
and slide was. Yeah, I thought that was gonna carry over to the next week. It didn't happen.
They have been. Yeah, you know what? I think earlier in the show I said the Texans game was after the Bears game or after the 49ers game. I
You did.
apologize.
You did.
It was
That's
It was
okay.
49ers, Packers, then Texans. But anyway,
We all know what you meant.
Bears picks. I'm just sitting here watching here. The Buccaneers had the ball to 12-yard line. Let's see if I win my money. Throw a fade ball to Mike Evans fantasy. Oh, he threw it to God knows who. Cade Otton?
Cade Otton.
Bum. Anyway, appreciate you guys in the chat. All you guys still watching. Go to bed, go to sleep, play video games, do your nightly routine. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us here at Bears Nation Podcast on Tuesday Night Bears Therapy on a Thursday with Kellyn Garrison and myself, Kevin Lapka. Appreciate you guys again. Make sure to subscribe to never miss an episode. And let's go. Let's hope the Bears bring home a second victory in a row on Sunday and move to 4-4 and be right in the thick of things in the playoffs, baby. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week. Take care.